Welcome to Manibil. I thought I would make, I'm going on a small trip again here, so I thought I would make a little video on Bernardo Kastrup and metaphysics, and a few thoughts about him and his approach. And what mostly got me thinking is the idea of what it means to be an idealist. So I have made a video which I have also referenced a few times called Idealism, Metaphysics Without Woo-Woo. No, I always get it wrong. It's called Idealism, Metaphysics. No, it's called Metaphysics, Idealism Without Woo-Woo. Sorry. Metaphysics, because that's the general philosophical exercise, right? And more specifically, it's idealism without woo-woo. Okay. And it seems to me, as I also have pointed out a few times in videos regarding metaphysics, that I seem to be stuck in the middle between full-on, materialists and full-on idealists, right? That I see the problem and the inherent paradox in the materialist approach, which is also called naive realism, which means that if you think that that which you experience as your outside is the actual outside, it's very naive, because it can't be, right? As I pointed out several, if not numerous times. And I've argued for this back and forth a lot of times. So if you're not quite new to the channel, you have heard my arguments in that regard a lot of times, right? Why it can't be the outside you are experiencing. And if you think that which you experience is the actual outside, there's nothing more to search for, right? Everything is mapped out, so to say, right? There are contradictions in the comparisons between what is going on in the mind and that big world outside, but you're not looking for more in that outside world, right? You will run into the hard problem of consciousness, as all materialists or physicalists do, and that's something that needs to be addressed, not just hand waved away like Keith Frankish does and says, well, that qualia is just stupid, right? So, and if you realize there is a problem in the metaphysics in saying that which you experience is the actual outside, well, then you will have to solve that problem, right? Because it doesn't make sense when you think about it, if you're not naive about it, right? So what do you do then? Well, then you will have to say that, well, then it's an experience. It is an experience. And the next stance will then be, okay, so all I have access to is an experience, right? There's nothing about the experience, as I also pointed out, that necessitates there is some outside about it. So what makes me say it's an outside? Or that at least some part of it is an outside? Well, nothing, other than me having just deciding that there is an outside. Okay, so there's nothing from the starting point of metaphysics that gives you anything, which is a very healthy way of starting out doing philosophy. It's sort of a blank slate kind of idea, right? So where do you start? Well, in my opinion, you start with the qualia. That's the deepest level of experience you have direct access to, right? And I pointed this out before. So if there's an outside, then that outside has to manifest itself. If you decide there is an outside, okay, it's an axiomatic stance. You can't do it without making an axiom, right? So then At some point, that outside becomes some kind of experience, qualia, right? But whatever is before that qualia, by definition, by the axiom of the inside-outside dichotomy you just established, you have no access to it. Otherwise, it will all be an experience, right? Why would you be dissociated from having an experience and then be dissociated from the rest of that experience? That makes, you could say that that's what Bernardo Kastrup, he argues, but he has it's not founded on anything, right? It's just extending your philosophy to an area where you can't go and check anyway, right? And that's where you should be particularly worrisome about what these philosophers do, right? My point is, my stance is, you can never get to it, just like Immanuel Kant said, right? And I don't buy into his transcendental whatever, right? You just can't get to it, right? You are locked within your experience. When you see a video of Bernardo Kastrup on YouTube and whatever, that is still an experience. You have learned or been trained to interpret in a certain way, right? It's still an experience. It's still sounds, it's still colors, it's still a feeling of the keyboard and so on, whatever, right? If you lick your laptop, there's possibly a taste also. That might not be the taste of Bernardo Kastrup, but you get my drift, right? So you can't just say, okay, I already got a priori idea of what I should experience, and I am categorizing my experiences according to that a priori. No, that doesn't work. The only thing that you could say that comes close to an a priori is your cognitions. I have not trained myself to identify elephants in my experience, right? That's something that came along with me. That's my best explanation, right? And that might be a source of further thinking about what Plato was actually talking about, right? That he didn't have the idea of genes and DNA and heredity and all these things, right? So there might be something. This realm of forms is the elephant, for instance, right? And you're born with that form. I didn't decide to make that form, right? So it's not far off to say that there might be something to go with there, comparing it to Plato's forms. But those forms come from the inside. They don't arrive through my senses, right? Elephants don't arrive through my senses. I don't have an elephant sense, right? All I can say is my mind is recognizing elephant within my experience. It's very quick. It is almost as if the elephant arrives to you, right? You are not creating the elephant. It's very quick, right? And it's incredible, but it has to be the explanation. Just because it's hard to believe doesn't mean it's not correct, right? So the point I was going to get to is that Bernardo Kastrup identifies an idealist as someone who thinks that everything is mind. And the borderline I would like to raise is, yes, mind is all you have access to. But if you say there's an outside, you can't say that that outside is also mind or whatever, right? Mental, whatever. You can't say that. You can say it, but you have nothing to go with. Just because you're not inventing some new stuff to put there doesn't mean you can bring the old stuff there, right? And I would say it makes more sense to say that it's something that is different from mind. There's some problem maybe Schopenhauer pointed out that, okay, so if that mind is different from the rest, why can that mind be a part of that which it is trying to describe, right? If it's not mind that is outside mind, then why is mind there? It's sort of a little bubble of mind growing inside something different. But I mean, it can't be explained, in my opinion, right? There's not. It's like you're using the spatiality and the way you approach and interpret your experience cognitively to argue for how that external world is composed, right? It doesn't mean there's any space or time or anything like that, colors or objects, anything like that, right? It's possibly so different that I can't even fathom it, right? Because I'm an experience machine. So I only have that experience. And it could possibly be some kind of mind trick, which I think it is. The space notion, right? So it's so I would say the borderline is the level of your experience, and you can't go no further than that. And your mind is not of a different kind. It's different kind is too little to say about it. It's on another paradigm, right? It's different on another level. It's so different I can't even imagine how different it is. So that's why I'm saying stay with your experience and your objectifications and your cognitions and your emotions and your memory and all that. That's what you have to work with, right? Don't care about this external world that is just fabulations, that has nothing to do with reality in any way, right? So it's kind of I think it's this thing about human beings just fucking hate when they have to say I don't know, or it can't be known, I have no access, I can't tell you, right? I won't tell you. No, they want to fabulate about it. They don't like something isn't explained, right? Because then somebody else might come and explain it in a way you don't like, and then you will have to abide to that or obey that or whatever, right? People want everything to be explained. They don't want something left alone, right? So they'll come up with all sort of bullshit. And also those who want to have a god or whatever, they want to put it there, right? It's an obvious thing, right? And that's also why there's a lot of woo-woo people and religious people who have sort of see an opening with Bernardo Castro arguing for all sorts of woo-woo shit that is he can talk about because of dissociative disorders, and people have reported being this or being that. I don't know what, right? I don't take that seriously, because these are all reportings or second-hand neurological experiments of some kind, right? That's not philosophy. If I can't access it directly myself in the here and now, I don't really care about it, right? So I think that's my talk for today, except that I want to add that the point is, then I'm not an idealist, right? In the purest sense of that everything, also that thing beyond my experience, is also experience, right? I don't go there, right? And if that is what is being idealist, well, then then I am not an idealist. But I do recognize the problem in materialism. But I'm not a materialist, right? So I'm more idealist, but I just don't go where I can't go. So it's not really important in these isms for me. But it just tells me how incredible it is, how difficult it seems to be settling on anything, right? And I don't think there shouldn't be anybody saying this is how it is, right? That's also a problem. But I think there's the takeaway is that what you want to be the case, or what you want to be able to say, has a very big influence on your philosophy, right? And if you've gone wrong somewhere, took an off-road somewhere, it's hard to get back on track, because you built from that. So you corner yourself into your own philosophy, so to say, and then you have to hand wave and explain or make, ad hominem attacks or whatever, in order to stay with your sort of half-assed philosophy, right? So I think that's it. See you next time.